In which country is this also so? There is a custom that the country is peculiar. Japan is island country and the history is also long story. So the originality may be outstanding. Then, I'll see the custom and go on the story. 1. Is it cash or cashless? Do you think Japanese technology is developed? Japanese think Japanese technology is developed. 2. Japanese ceaseless system is behind schedule. Japanese cashlessness system is rapid and advanced in recent years. Ceaselessness is more developed by influence of coronavirus. Still there are many places where only cash can be used at a Japanese restaurant. Even when a debit card and a credit card can be used in Japan. The card which can be used is limited and even when getting cash at an ATM, the card which can be used is limited. This is a Japanese problem and international card can be used at ATM in a major convenience store. 2. There is no Wi-Fi in Japan. This is also Japanese surprise of the Croton technology is advancing. There are few spots Wi-Fi can use in Japan. When the spot Wi-Fi can use is given as an example. It can be used at a major cafe chain, McDonald's and a convenience store. It seems better to think there are no others. 3. The criminal occurrence rate is low. Japanese security is the world top class. The view by which a child takes a train by himself isn't also unusual. About 70% also returns to one's own dimension a lost item and thing left behind. So it's possible to go sightseeing by itself in Japan and also possible to walk along the way at night by alone. There would be a lot of stores where Tokyo is open until late at night and a morning. But a bad people exist in every country. Without neglecting safe consideration, I'll remember the telephone number of the police which is the urgent phone number 110. 4. There is no necessary for the chip. Many country chip is regarded as courtesy. When getting good service, you'd also think there are no excuses when not offering a tip much. But Japan chip isn't proper. When you try to offer a tip in Japan which isn't proper, a partner would be perplexed in many cases and you sometimes refuse. Service to a guest is natural work for Japanese. It's the professional posture to the work, and better service is regarded as pride and a problem of the gentleness. I think so Japanese can't return that in money as a chip. You also need insult in the person who catches by person. As an exception, accommodations, a hotel and a taxi sometimes understand a custom besides Japan. It may correspond to a chip. Please understand the chip is unnecessary in Japan basically. 5. Wet towel taken out at a Japanese restaurant. This is called ashibori. The custom which isn't besides Japan. This is a small towel for you to wipe your hands or face before eating. 6. Make a noise and eat. If it's prohibition to make a noise by European and American culture and eat. Even Japan is so basically. It's said that it's an ill-mannered act. But for a main dish of ramen noodles and soba clear soup you assume that it's better to draw in the noodles, make a noise and eat. It's because that's better. When drawing in noodles are fragrant with the scent of dance soup. It's so. Noodles are eaten and also its fragrance is also tasted. Everyone in Europe and America isn't how to eat about which you get angry usually enjoyed in Japan. 7. There are a lot of restaurants which don't correspond to an order in Japan. The difference in the personal eating habits, likes and dislikes and religion can order small at a European and American restaurant. There are almost no restaurants which correspond to your request in Japan. Even if it can correspond, it's only a little case. Japanese is a group principle and the case that have no difference on the religions is in the premise. After all a restaurant is an entertainment and a professional is doing drama theater which is the same entertainment doesn't publish the drama contents beforehand and do the contents of drama correspond to a small personal order, and change? I just say that a professional theater group reports drama to everybody confidently. A restaurant is also like origin. There are people of a reason on the religion, an individualism, eating habits, a vegetarian and vegan. It isn't natural to correspond to that and it's a problem of a balance. I think as so a vegetarian, vegan and the restaurant where offer small order also increase only a little in Japan, and it's a little. 8. Calling your server in restaurant. If it's an impolite thing to summon a waiter in Europe and America, it seems it's necessary to call a waiter conversely at many Japanese restaurants. The idea that an order is chosen from the menu by Japan and a waiter is called by visitors timing is general. That it's important here? I have to call a waiter in Japan, there is a case that a waiter won't come to take an order forever. 9. Japanese bar and pub system. Almost place there's no COD. Everything is deferred payment. Some place requests COD in case of bar. In case of a pub, a daily appetizer is being served. When you regard this as the table charge for pub, it's easy to understand. 10. There are a lot of open 24 hours convenience stores. A lot of the assortment in a Japanese convenience store seems astonishing. Moreover, because a new product is sold so that you may say every day. There are no cases that I get tired of a convenience store. 11. There are no trash cans. It's possible to find a trash can at a convenience store. After Tokyo subway sarin gas attack, which depends on cult religious society, in 1995 in Japan, most of a trash can, which tends to be a mark of terrorism, was removed. So there are no trash cans in Japan so much. Even the Japanese accustomed to this is often in trouble about being no trash cans. In such case, Japanese uses the trash can installed next to the vending machine. It's trash cans in Japan with a lot of discrete charge for trash are a can and a trash can of plastic bottle exclusive use. That there is a case that Japanese uses the trash can, knowing a bad thing. 12. There are a lot of things which don't correspond to English. There are many cases which don't correspond to English and are foreign language, a road sign in Japan and the menu at a restaurant. Japanese learns English from the time of infancy at school, so easy English is the croton everyone knows. There are no chances to speak English in any place but school, so the many people can't speak English. When you can speak to a foreigner in Japan, there is also a case that I'm surprised from little of the chance and kept away. But because most Japanese know English when speaking English in easy and slowly is understood. 13. There are two kinds of Japanese-style restroom, as you know. We assume in case of Japan, that the shower function is natural, and it's too multifunctional and is sometimes confused. Used it by carefully. The one which is a problem? This restroom is old-fashioned and it's used this. Balance feeling and accustoming are this necessary to use it. It's old-fashioned, so the person who can't use this restroom increases, and even Japanese has come. It's still used at a convenience store and a public restroom. When using it in a sudden thing, absolutely, you're careful, and can I have it? There are a lot of things which have no hand soaps in the restroom, and there is also a case that you rarely have no toilet paper, so please use it on the preparation and the confirmation. 14. The thing for which the shoes I tend to take off are necessary. This is that Asian countries as well as Japan are fine. I take off my shoes certainly at a front door at Japanese home. There are a lot of situations which also take off their shoes at a building in addition to Japan. When entering a Japanese building, please check it about attachment and removal of shoes at a front door. When taking it off, I often change into carpet slipper. This is sometimes also changed for slippers for restrooms in a restroom. 15. A lot of the person and congestion. Japan is densely populated. People are concentrating a city in particular. The Japanese capital and Tokyo are most famous for the world as a densely populated city. Group consciousness is high in Japan and there is also a thing accustomed to this. The Japanese voice is clean small compared with other national people, in a line. Confusion isn't caused. Aren't there also a lot of cases that the person who visited for sightseeing in Japan is surprised and a lot of the person and is disgusted? It's good to be in a line for 2 hours at a popular restaurant. 16. The difference in the Japanese size senses. Recent years Japanese became tall, but Japanese hotel and Japanese style hotel, I'd think low of the ceiling and the window and the size are small. I'm also interested in thinness of the wall. There is a background where I have improved this by densely populated Japan and have not come. This, a public institution of a train and a bus, like. I'll do so as not to shout as much as possible in Japan. 17. The complication when taking a train. The Japanese public transportation is very correct in time and developed. Tokyo is also quite developed at the inside, and there is almost no necessity to walk to the destination for more than 10 minutes on foot. In matter of the fact, it's very complicated. This means Japanese to be too complicated. So, the person who sees the sights of Tokyo, understood, one can regard this as impossibility mostly. Please give up movement by a shortest path rather early as the way to capture this. That they may be able to get to the destination when it makes connections and will be going to bypass only the dominant and famous train line a little, it seems. 18. There is a female exclusive vehicle. Elderly and a handicapped person can get on this vehicle. It's a man. It isn't possible to take it. 19. Tattoo isn't accepted. Tattoo was put in as criminal's penalty by Japanese old history. After that, People of Japanese back society and the gangster who is Japanese mafia could now a tattoo. So people who hold the image for which the Japanese is bad in a tattoo are much. The translations from which a tattoo can't be received as fashion. At the certain place where a surface in Japanese sea, hot spring, pool and gym is exposed, persons use with a tattoo is prohibited. I'll devise a tattoo in Japan so as not to be seen as much as possible. 20. It's difficult to reserve a stay place. Staying at a private house of Airbnb isn't too developed in Japan. Its culture with a foreigner is expected to be different. More, it's often kept away. There seem to be a lot of things for which reservation is necessary at accommodations of a hotel and a Japanese-style hotel. If it's low budget, there is also a way as a capsule hotel. It seems also better for this to make a reservation beforehand. There are other accommodations as a love hotel in Japan. This hotel purpose is something to come to sexual intercourse. It's popular with certain tourists from its interior novelty. There is also short times used in the hotel as rest where the purpose doesn't stay overnight for sexual intercourse. 21. The bad of the manners on the sidewalk and the crosswalk. Ignoring a red light and crossing a place which isn't a pedestrian crossing. It's often seen. Briefly speaking, there are no systems of a fine in Japan about a pedestrian and a pedestrian crossing. It's to the extent manners of bicycle driving were institutionalized a little in recent years. Japanese road circumstances by the height of the population density are also the cause which can't institutionalize these. 22. A lot of the world's cultural and natural heritage. There are a large number of world's cultural and natural heritages in Japan, and this is also a popular reason of Japanese sightseeing. But daily maintenance is needed to keep this world's cultural and natural heritage beautifully. When it's sightseeing, please pay regard for these world's cultural and natural heritages and behave at the place where these are traditional in Japan and a holy place that sometimes makes the thing enjoyed quietly regard, and is the custom that Japan is peculiar. Without being confused, please associate quietly. 23. Bowing custom. Japanese often makes a curtsy. When the angle is shallow, that's a greeting. The angle is sometimes an apology more than 45 times. That's sometimes a polite greeting in case of entertainment business, so please judge by the situation. When Japanese calls it excuse me, this is same. Even the meaning is excuse, not that Japanese is often apologizing is used. It may be perplexed in a lot of this bow. That's a custom and Japanese is a natural thing, too, so. 24. There is a lot of photography prohibited. It isn't possible to take a picture of an individual without permission in Japan. But crowded photography suits the degree an individual can't distinguish, and is no problem. There is also a front page where Japanese emphasizes personal privacy for this. The strength of the group psychology seems big as expected. By an individual suits others' picture and this is being crowded. Trouble isn't caused to the group to which the individual belongs. There is a case that I say so in a background. This building, as kind of, there are a lot of things to which permission is necessary for photography. There are also a lot of photography prohibited places in shrine and temple. 25. The mask which blows its nose. Japanese doesn't blow his nose by the public. Phlegm isn't also thrown up. I sniff and swallow phlegm. I'd think of dirty runny nose as a hateful act. It's understood. In other words, because it's dirty runny nose, it isn't shown to others. It's Japanese to do the way of thinking which says so. It'll be an idea and individualism though by a group principle like idea. There are many persons who wear a mask originally for Japanese. That's to correspond to the allergic reaction by the cryptomeria pollen as hay fever. But the act which wears a mask by an infection originally is also done. That isn't whether I infect. Whether you infect by me, a group principle like good manner act. There are still a lot of Japan and foreign difference. This is also a difficult place by the foreign sightseeing and is also a fascinating place. Why don't you like to enjoy Japan together?
Come on! やっほはい、マイレッジです。日本は Come on! という意味で人を引き寄せるとき、手のひらを下にしたサインも同じ Come on! なので気をつけてくださいね。ちなみに俺は日本の集団主義は尊重してますが、ロジックが足りていない、ロジックが合わない場合には同調圧力には屈しないので少し日本的ではありません。 今回の動画皆さんどう思われましたか？それではご視聴ありがとうございました。See ya!